Aloha and welcome everyone to Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out how they're working to support the needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. If you're building or remodeling a home, you've just got to check out Pacific Source's cabinet and appliance showroom in the Waikapu Bayshard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Interim Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific and President of the Maui Nonprofit Directors Association. And today we have two co-hosts, but they're actually guests, so I'm not even going to introduce them yet. Unless you want to help. You could help we could do each other.
That works.
How's that? Okay.
I'd be happy to introduce our fellow co-host, Max Tornai from Mediation Services of Maui.
And the voice you're listening to is Lox Abraham from Maui United Way. Give me 2 points for that one. Woo-hoo! Finally we get it right. Okay, so Max has brought a guest with him. He's got Diane Petropoulos with him. And she's going to be telling us a little bit about some mediation training that they've got coming up. Who's going to start it off?
Well, I can start off just giving a brief overview of our agency if people don't know. We're from Mediation Services of Maui, and basically what we try to do is help people resolve or settle potential lawsuits or conflicts out of court. And we handle any type of conflict from landlord-tenant, collection agencies. We do a lot of divorce cases, child custody, things like that. And we have a training, our annual basic mediation training coming up in early November. And that's why I brought Diane along with us, because she's our lead trainer.
Thank you, Max.
Hi, Diane.
How you
Good to
doing?
be here.
Good. So, as lead trainer, this is your job to train the next group of mediators.
The next set of folks who would like to learn some mediation skills, some conflict resolution skills. Frankly, what we're hoping to do in the training is build on some of the skills that people already have and then put them in a position so that they'll be even more effective with advanced communication skills.
Is there like a pre-interview or pre-test or something that people take to see if they have any of those already in their system?
Well, the reason we wouldn't administer a pre-test is that we're actually interested in welcoming a lot of different folks from the community. And beyond that, this training is helpful either in their personal lives, perhaps in the workplace, and then additionally, potentially as a volunteer mediator. So the richness of the class is always improved with many different folks from the community.
From different backgrounds and different levels of authority within organizations and within the household even.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had people from, human resources, executives take the class, just to people that were trying to handle their family reunion effectively.
Ooh, ouch. That's
That could definitely take some mediation.
Yeah.
and be sure and take it before it happens.
Yes.
Yeah, that's that, and even some like Christmas time, when the families get together once a year, everybody comes in. Expectations on some people's parts really high about what's going to happen, and they've got a schedule.
Right.
Have you ever been to one of those where you walked in the door and it's okay, it's 2:00, we got to go here?
I don't think I would go to one of those.
Not the second time.
No.
Well, you'll notice the timing of our training is coming up the first 2 weekends in November. It couldn't be a better scheduled time.
That's true.
Good
Christmas.
planning.
Thanksgiving's right after that, and then Christmas is coming up, the holiday season. So you'll be well prepared if you take our training.
I think for most people, the bottom line is just go and enjoy. When it comes to events like that in your life, don't have high expectations or low expectations.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah,
especially when it's family.
Yeah, just
because you're going to be gravely disappointed.
Yeah. But there really are specific skills that you can learn to help the level of effectiveness of your communication in your relationship.
Bringing it back to mediation services.
Right, let's circle it around back to mediation.
And that's a great point. Mediation services, in these trainings, not only are you training to be a mediator, but also I would imagine they provide great life skills. correct?
Well, let me give you an example.
Great.
One of the areas we go into is your choice of words. And so, of course, folks are hoping that as they use certain words, they'll get a good reaction. So I have a humorous example for
Great.
you.
I love these.
Humor.
No, these are great. She did a training for our staff, and they're excellent.
So if you come in the door and say, "What's for dinner?" in that tone and with those words, the reaction may not be very positive.
I'm laughing, of course, because I can put myself in this
I
situation.
know this example always
Attitude is everything,
hits
people.
home for me.
Now, perhaps a better way to say the same idea is to say, "Can I help with dinner?" But there's an even better way, and that is, "Where would you like to go for dinner?"
Yes. Yes.
Now, one of my students actually added to that and said, "Well, why don't we have a glass of wine while we decide where we're going for dinner?"
It gets better and better.
So that's an example, and obviously it's a humorous one, of thinking about how you're going to say something in order to get a really positive response from the person that you're talking to.
And not knowing how that person's day went,
Yes.
right?
And
I mean,
we
there's
have to-
part of the key.
We have to remember that everybody perceives things and interprets things different. So, one of the things they pointed out to us when they did this training at our staff is when you say something to someone, they're not necessarily receiving it the way you intended to. So you
Right.
have to say it correctly so they interpret it the way that you're wanting them to. And it was, what were those words, the key words? You have to do this, or
Should is another
Should,
one that's
yeah.
a problematic way to
yes. Can you give
express
us an
yourself.
example of that? I think those are great.
Oh, you should give me your meeting notes. I wasn't able to be there.
Okay.
And I don't think Lox is going to think, well, I'd sure love to. Why is she saying I should
Should,
when she could just ask me gently,
Yeah.
could I please give her a look at her notes?
Uh-huh. And what's a good example for like a husband and wife dynamic when they're trying to communicate?
I thought I gave that one.
No. This is a great one. You should be more understanding about my feelings. That's a great example, right?
That is a good example.
And
a
that's
tough one.
confrontational.
Yes, and the use of the word should. But if you're hoping that someone's listening to you, giving a definitive statement is probably the last way to get someone on board. Asking a gentle question works so much better.
So Susie, how would you reword that? I'm
Which
putting you
one?
on the spot.
Which one?
You should be more aware of my feelings in a relationship. Husband-wife dynamic.
We're bringing back the nonprofit quiz.
How, what's a better way to word that to get a
better way
positive
to word
response?
Since I'm not married, I don't have much practice with that. My dog understands everything I say to him.
And those are directive statements too, right?
Okay, you want to give us an example, Max? The expert.
Well, I would, I'm not the best expert in my own personal life, but I would probably, say something along the lines of, I would really appreciate it if you tried to listen to more of how I'm feeling.
Very
There
good.
you go. Listen to what I'm saying.
I love those exercises.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like I need to go over and check this out.
Yeah,
and
it's cool.
The reverse is kind of why a lot of people will get into a conflict that kind of requires mediation as well. So they aren't choosing a delicate word choice, and a lot of times, for example, in our divorce cases, the communication has just broken down so much that even, a weird look or a
Yeah.
tone that wasn't meant would be taken completely the wrong way, and then the whole discussion kind of cycles down into a bad spot, and there's just insults going back and forth. So that's when mediation can step in and be the facilitator of that communication, kind of just facts and feelings without the emotion attached.
But how does a couple that's at that point come up with the idea of mediation? I mean, if one says it, the other one's going to say,
They look
what?
at the bill for court and lawyers.
Right.
That's-
Thank you, Lox. That was going to be one of my comments. The cost can make a difference for folks. But keep in mind also that a courtroom is public. I mean, anyone can walk in if you're in the middle of a divorce
Wow.
and sit in on proceedings. So mediation is private and confidential. We are held to quite a high standard in terms of what we're allowed to say later, which is nothing.
And much gentler, I think, than the court scene.
Yeah, one of the things that Diane and I were discussing before the show was that a lot of times in a lawsuit, neither side, and one of our old judges used to say this all the time that we used to work with a lot, that a lot of times neither side is happy with the judge's verdict. But since you've gotten to that point, you've gone through trial, you really have to go by what the judge says, especially in small claims court. There's no appeals process. Whereas in mediation, you really have the opportunity to construct a solution that works for both parties, and it can be a lot more effective.
I noticed that one of the sessions you have is Pieces of Peace.
Yes.
The youth, the teenage group.
Yeah.
Do you have much of that?
We used to do more of it when we had more funding. A few years ago, we got a great grant from the prosecutor's office, which ended up running out. But we traditionally have programs at Maui High, and we do an annual training at Seabury Hall. But we are looking to expand that training as we get into this year. But that's really teaching middle school and high school aged youth how to effectively deal with conflict that they're experiencing. And a lot of times, the students will take their peer more seriously than a vice principal or a teacher telling them how to deal with this conflict. And a lot of those conflicts are rumors. She said this about me, and I can't believe it, or boyfriend-girlfriend disputes. But yeah, it can be really effective, and it's surprising how quickly the kids will pick up on these skills, even faster than the adults do. Yeah.
And does it make a big difference then to them? Have you run into any of them years later? And
well, I've only been with the agency for 3
Right.
years, but at that point we were starting. We did a peer mediation video, and those kids will still come back, and they've moved on from high school
Right.
at that point, but they've been using it, in their everyday life and their jobs, and it's a great skill to have on your resume when you're that
Sure.
young.
what a great skill to have, period.
Yeah.
So could you give us an anonymous example of what a mediation session would be, or like one that you've worked on without depicting the confidential information?
Oh, I could.
A good one. A good one.
Diane, I'm gonna defer this to you, since you've done so many more than I have. But
So what are you hoping to bring out here, Lox?
Just like an example of how it takes a given situation, like a situation that you guys have been faced with within mediation, and how it was resolved and what the result was.
I found the business partnership strengthening piece to be interesting, because that could make a night and day difference in a company that maybe has a great product or great service, but they're not able to get it out there because of this inner conflict in the
Right.
office or in
Yeah.
the shop.
yeah.
Well, if you think about it for a minute, the workplace has so many potential areas for conflict. I was making a list, thinking about our discussion today. Vendors, subcontractors, maybe with your competitors, maybe with your customers, certainly within, among the employees. Maybe your commercial space landlord. And then, of course, the business partners that you just spoke of. So the potential for conflict is extensive. I think what I'd like to say about how it gets resolved so well in mediation is that people have the opportunity to calm themselves down with a third party sitting there, or in our case, typically two mediators sit with them, that quiets the emotions just enough so that people can start thinking again. Because usually by the time we see them, they're no longer focusing on the problem that originated this dispute. They are now looking at each other, at the people as the problem. And that will never help them start to refocus again, except with the help of mediators sitting in and encouraging them to slow down, get more calm, and then start working hard on the problem. Because everybody's a good problem solver if you give them a chance to think about it without the emotions being as high as they often are when people walk in the door.
And we're going to give everybody a chance to think about that statement as we take a break.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and find out what they're doing to keep Maui Maui.
And peaceful.
Yes, and today it's very peaceful. You know, I just during the break, I gotta share this. We were talking about the subject that we had just before the break, and I asked the question about, do people ever get really riled up after a period of time in discussion and just, you know, either slam a book down or walk out, slam the door, whatever. And Diane, in this very calm and peaceful way,
You can tell she's a mediator,
says,
right?
that's the job of the mediator, is to see that it doesn't get to that point, that you have someone you can talk to. Now, did I do that right or what?
You did that awesome. I think you should go to mediation training.
Right.
I don't think I need it.
Oh, but please come and enrich the class.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that was an excellent summary or reframe of what Diane said, and those are some of the skills that we hit in these trainings. One of the other things that we do hit in these trainings is how to actively listen to people. And, you know, sometimes, you know, these are very emotional disputes sometimes. You know, you can imagine trying to split one household into two households in a divorce and how much tension and emotion there goes into that. But, you know, a lot of times no one has really heard where the person was coming from kind of a neutral way, or from a neutral perspective. And there have been a lot of times when, you know, you reframe how they're feeling, their emotion or whatever, you kind of, you know, bounce that back off of them, and you can see the weight lift off their shoulders. And once they've finally been heard, then they're kind of able to move forward into focusing on the solution. And so, you know, these are really kind of common sense skills that once you learn, you can practice and get better and better at, which is why it's great to give to have the opportunity to be a volunteer mediator for the court system, you know, through mediation services, and actively practice these skills.
Does it ever get to the point where the people are sitting there and going, well, how did we get here? What happened? When did this start? Or when?
That's a question I often ask them. What's holding this up? How did you get here? Why are we here now? And it gives them a chance to let other people understand how they feel about it. And once they've been able to, just as Max said, express that, a lot of the anger can drop to a much lower level. They still have the issues, they still have the problems, but now at least they're validated. Somebody heard what they had to say.
Do you find that often when you ask them that question, sometimes they've never even really contemplated how they got there?
Actually, I've had the opposite experience. They know exactly what they got.
And they tell you.
They definitely
They
have.
know exactly what second it started, right? Okay.
Right. But that's also, you know, we get people that really like to tell their story, and if they haven't had an opportunity for that, they can go in circles and go back around the, you know, the merry-go-round again and again. So it's also the mediator's job of steering the conversation in, you know, an appropriate direction.
Interesting, yeah. Because I guess I could see where if it's somebody's fault that they're there.
Well, actually, we're not exploring
right.
fault
But don't they see?
as the court system
Yeah.
does, and of course arbitration too, looking to see where the fault lies. But mediation is much more future focused.
Solution.
Solution.
So
based, yeah.
yes, we're here now, and where do we want to go from here? So we don't spend too much time saying, oh, but it's so-and-so's fault that
Yeah.
this happened or that happened, because that keeps them stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And we're looking to help them so that in the future, this doesn't keep coming up for them.
Right, and that's actually something that the mediators are trained to do, to not judge both sides and say, you're right and you're wrong. I deem that this is the solution. They're there to, help the participants communicate and shuttle back. They're in private sessions for most of the process, but shuttle back potential offers back and forth on a neutral level and just keep it focused towards a solution. Keep it focused.
And that was one of the things that I've taken part in one of the mediations over there, and the thing I think that impressed me the most was how, at first, each side gets to say their piece. And then they're split apart, and you go in separate rooms, and you get to speak to the mediators, and then the mediator goes in the other room and talks to them.
Right.
And meanwhile, you're left sitting there going, I wonder what they're saying.
It's true.
And,
What kind of lies they're telling about me?
and then you come back together, and hopefully there's some common ground that can be found. But I think it's the idea that you aren't really face-to-face with whoever you're having the problem with during the whole thing.
Right.
That allows you to be able to say what you really feel and think.
Right. And the fact that the mediators are really trained to be neutral. So that will only help the process to move forward. As soon as the mediator starts moving out of neutral, people can feel that, and then
Yeah.
they don't want to be
Yeah.
participatory.
Well, I did have the luxury of participating in mediation at one point in my life, and I have to say the amount of neutralness was almost irritating.
Really?
Because you want them to be like, that you want them to understand where you're coming from, but they are very good at staying neutral and staying in the middle and very much not pulling to one side or the other. I remember that being one of my frustrations through the process, but at the end, it worked. You have to
Right.
be like that. So.
Well, I think there is an empathy that we want to show, that we
Absolutely.
care about what you're going through, and that we aren't going to suggest our own ideas for how you, and here's that word, should solve it. But in fact, we care, and we want to hear from you, and we stay out of trying to give you the solutions, because you know better than we do. And we're obligated to stay out of the solution. That is part of our pledge to be neutral.
And don't you think if someone can derive their own solution, it just makes it that much more powerful for them to embrace and want to go with?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that I've heard back from district court or small claims judges is that, even if the judge puts down a verdict, people don't.
People are still walking out of the room going, yeah, right, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Try to get a dime out of me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, in mediation, if you've actively contributed to that solution, it's kind of proven that
Yeah.
that will that solution will actually happen. Rather
Yeah,
than
you take a
being
joint
mandated.
responsibility in
Right.
the solution.
Right.
You've made a promise. In other words, you are much more personally involved now as you say, yes, from now on, I will do this, rather than someone imposing it on you.
So what's your success rate? How does that work? Are you guys able to measure that at all?
Well, it depends on how you define success. So if you define success by an agreement, it kind of breaks into two categories. Cases that are self-referred, so just out of the community, and cases that are court-ordered. For our court-referred cases, our agreement rate's about 50%. So we're still taking half of those cases that we get referred off the docket,
Oh, that's good.
which saves the whole community a lot of money, and lets people access the legal system for legitimate,
Which is why we have this nonprofit.
Right. For self-referred cases, it's a voluntary process. We're not going to send the police, handcuff you, and bring you into the mediation room. So people can decline an invitation to mediate. If a judge orders, it's a little bit more obligatory. But in those cases, we're at about 80-85% of an agreement rate. Now, the other success measurement, yeah, thank you, Diane, is how the relationship has changed between the parties. So we do a follow-up survey immediately after the mediation takes place, and then a 3-month follow-up survey 3 months later. But in that, we ask, how has the relationship changed, from negatively to positively, and about 90% will say that there's been some positive change in the relationship. So, they might not be able to come to an absolute agreement on the last minute detail, but they've communicated enough and heard enough about where the other side's coming from that they feel a little bit better about their relationship with the other party.
There's a meeting of the minds at some point.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Cool.
mediation.
So this training you've got coming up Friday and Saturday, November 2nd, 3rd, and 9th and 10th.
Right. It's the first 2 Friday and Saturdays in November.
So you have to go to all 4 classes, right?
To get the most out of it, yes. Yep.
Okay.
Great.
And it's 8:15 to 5 on Friday, 8:15 to 4 on Saturday,
Yep. The last day is just till 3.
till 3.
But we are located at the J. Walter Cameron Center in Wailuku, just across from the Kaiser Clinic and next to the police station. One thing that I really wanted to mention is that there is a cost to this training, but if you register before Friday, September 28th, you get a $50 discount.
Nice.
So you can call our office at 244-5744, or you can look at more information on our website, which is mauimediation.org.
Tremendous. The time has just flown for us here. Diane, thank you for
It was a pleasure.
for coming in and showing me how to do that.
It was such a pleasure to have you here. Wait, that kind of sounded
That
condescending.
was bad. That was bad.
Yeah, sorry. Well, at least I recognized it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Try it again.
It is really nice to see you, Diane.
Much more sincere.
We're going to switch gears here real quick, and we're going to let Max be the co-host as we interview Locks.
Do we have to switch seats?
Kanoy Medeiros, who is learning how to talk to people on the radio.
Yes.
Yes, and
Put you on the spot.
you've got 3 of the best trainers in the world sitting right here. So
Yes, you're in good
it's going to be a
hands.
piece of cake. Diane, thank you again for being here.
I
We
really
appreciate
enjoyed
that.
being here. Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Now, how many people can you get in that class? Is there a limit?
We typically have between, I'd say, 15 and I think we've had up to 22 people in that class, but I think we can go up to 25, 26.
Yeah, we're not going to turn anyone away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, they're
We wanna
very welcome.
We want to get this information and these skills out to as many people as possible.
I gotcha. Very good. Okay, thank you. So, Locks, what are we talking about with Maui United Way today?
What do you want me to talk about? I can go on forever.
You signed up.
Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We have a couple of events coming up that we're going to be talking to you about today. Lucky enough to have one of my trusty sidekicks, and I wouldn't be able to do campaign without her, our campaign and projects coordinator, Kanoy Medeiros, who's going to talk a little bit more about volunteer opportunities. But I'd like to start off just by thanking everyone out there and the listeners. All of our support that we get in the community each year has allowed us to do really well in last year's campaign. We raised just over $1.1 million. And that support, if you are not familiar with how United Way works, because a lot of people know what United Way is, they know it's a good thing, but they don't know exactly how it is that we help people out there. Basically, we collect funding in the community annually, and once we've collected that funding, we then work with a group of about 40 volunteers every 2 years, and we do what we call our allocation process. And in doing so, we have the agencies provide us with a grant request, which is like a grant application, more or less. We also do a site visit at their location. They also have an agency interview where we basically scrutinize their grant application and ask them all the hard questions. And then the last piece of that process is we deliberate. The committee itself deliberates and decides exactly how much money they would like to allocate to each one of our partner programs. So through that process, we have actually identified 36 different programs that we've been funding for the last year or so. And that funding goes to supporting the impact areas of education, income, and health. And education is simply supporting our youth's educational potential. Income is helping families be financially stable and independent. And of course, health, because, if we don't have good health, where are we? So, that's kind of what United Way does in a nutshell.
And now that's different from what you did 5 years ago.
It is somewhat different. And the main difference is that once upon a time, United Way used to fund unrestricted. And what that means is that when someone came to United Way for funding, they would ask for funding for a specific program, but they could use it anywhere in the budget that they needed to. So we were kind of the safety net to keep the organization going. And for a lot of organizations, donors will say, oh, I don't want to give to the ED salary, or I don't want to pay for the lights, or, I don't want to pay for those operational costs. Well, the bottom line is yes, not everybody wants to pay for those things, but the bottom line is that these programs could not exist were it not for these costs. So United Way recognized that and tried to help these agencies stay afloat. Well, the change that's happened over the last 2 years is we now fund programmatically. And when I say programmatically,
say it 3 times quickly.
Programmatically. I can't. It's hard. Anyways, because we're funding programmatically, that means that when you give to United Way, your funding is going to a specific program, but that funding may be used to help for the program director's salary. It may be used for program supplies. It may be used for something for that program facility, but it has to be program connected. And if they can't show us that connection, then we probably won't fund it. So basically, we're still able to help with some of the costs of salaries. We're still able to help with the cost of operational needs, but it has to be connected to a specific program.
And you've opened up the funding to a lot more agencies than you've been able to fund historically, just in the last, grant cycle, right?
Yes, we've actually opened the door to about 7 new agencies. For the last 10 years prior, we had supported about 27 partner agencies. And, we recognized the need to grow and the need to be able to assist other agencies out there. So we did open up our partnership, and as a result, we now have 34 different partner agencies that we work with and 36 programs that we fund.
And people can still donate and identify another agency that they want it to go to.
Yeah, that's, I get this all the time. In fact, I was emailing somebody the other day because they were upset about the way that a certain agency was doing something. And I said, the beauty of United Way is if you don't want to give to a specific agency, you designate your gift. So, for example, if you're giving to United Way, you have a couple options on how you can give. You can give to what we call our Community Impact Fund, which is our general fund. That money is allocated to all 36 programs, and that's allocated by a volunteer committee. The other way you can give is you can designate your donation to a specific impact area, as I mentioned earlier. You can give to education, you can give to income, you can give to health. And then the third and most popular way to designate is to give to a specific agency. You can give to any 501c3 organization that you would like to give to. If they're a partner agency, we encourage that as much as possible. We like people to give to our partner agencies just because we've done a lot of work to identify these agencies and their needs and deem them as vital needs in our community. But you can give to anyone. So if you have an agency that's close to your heart and you'd like the ease of giving through payroll deduction through your company, you can give that way, and it'll go directly to the agency that you'd like it to.
And so it's not just donations that you'd collect. You guys do a lot of fundraisers throughout the year.
And just think about that for a moment while we take a break.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. We're talking with Maui United Way's ED. Actually, we've been letting the ED of Maui United Way talk, and we're going to cut her off right now.
Cut her off.
And we're going to talk to Kanoi, because she's got all kinds of things to tell us about how we can volunteer.
Yes, Kanoi is our volunteer expert at United Way, and I'll let her tell you about some of the great things we got coming up.
Thank you. So first things first, it's fair time, which means that we're in the parade again this year.
Yep,
And
we're in the parade every year. And we had
close to 200 walkers with us last year, and we're hoping to get the same amount this year.
Yeah.
And they're volunteers that were walking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we had 200 strong.
I was walking. Where were you, Susie?
Watching.
We'll skip that, yeah. Moving on.
Probably at my desk where I
Right.
always am when the fair starts.
So all volunteers who walk with Maui United Way will get a free admission ticket into the fair and our Live United shirt. And that's a $7 value.
And great incentive.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So bring out your whole family.
And that's the first day that the fair is
This
taking
is
place?
Thursday, opening of the fair,
Is that
Thursday the
27th?
27th
The
of
big
this
parade.
month.
And what time
Yes.
did the volunteers need to be there?
Volunteers need to meet at UHMC at 3:45, and the parade starts at 4:30.
But we do need you to sign up prior. So if you are interested in walking for Maui United Way and joining us in our march to be united, we do need you to sign up, and Kanoi can tell you how to get in touch with her.
Yes, you can give us a call at 244-8787 or email me, Kanoi, that's Kanoe, at MauiUnitedWay.org.
So, if you need to save some money because you're going to have to spend a barrel of money when you get into the fair, come March and we'll help you pay for your admission tickets. You'll get a free T-shirt and you can bring your whole family.
Yeah, it was fun last year. It was like part of the community.
Yeah, and we even have a truck this year. So we're going to be having music, and we're going to be featuring Habitats for Humanity's flatbread. I always call it flatbread. You can tell it's
It's a
lunch. I'm hungry.
flatbed.
They're flatbed. So we'll have all the keikis riding on the flatbed, and we'll have some music to march to this year. But it's good fun. We had
It is
almost,
lots of fun.
yeah, we had a bunch of agencies come out last year and tell them what they can bring. They can bring their
You can bring your banners. You can wear if you're one of our partner agencies, wear your agency T-shirts to represent and get, your message out in the community.
You can bring your signage if you're a volunteer for an organization or you represent any one of our partner agencies. You can come out and represent them, or you can just wear your Live United T-shirt and march proudly for United Way.
And the walk is just long enough.
Yeah, it's
About a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Is
not
it really?
Yeah.
or less.
I was going to
would
say, if that, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just from the campus to the
Yeah,
fairgrounds.
it's basically from MCC campus. You walk out onto Ka'ahumanu Ave, and then you turn right into the
Onto Kanaloa Avenue.
Yeah, into the fairgrounds,
and you're there.
You're pretty much there.
Are there a lot of people lined up on the sides to see?
There have been quite
Lots
a
of
few.
people, yeah.
Really?
I was
There are
actually
lots of
really
people to
surprised at how many people came out last year.
Was that your first time?
That was my first parade.
It was my first time, too.
Your
Good
first time
parade.
ever?
Wow. But I think some years, I think it's growing.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
parade for a long time was just a few things and Boy Scouts or somebody, and that was kind of
It's
it.
huge. How many participants were in it last year? Do you remember a ballpark
don't
figure?
remember.
It was 1,000 plus. I know
Wow.
that
Really?
for sure. There are a lot of people.
It draws a lot of people out from the community. So it's a great way for us to be involved and get our, Live United message
Yeah.
out there.
And then you're all walking around through
Throughout the fair,
midway
right.
and all the different show tents and stuff.
Yeah.
With your
I've
Live
heard
United.
a lot of people
Yes.
say, there's a lot of people out there in the community right now selling tickets for steak plates and for malasadas and whatever it may be. You still have to pay to get in to pick up that stuff. So if you'd like us to help you make it a little easier to pick up your stuff, just give us a call and come march with us.
I think it's great that this year you're having a float, like the flatbed music and
I
stuff
don't know
like
if it's really a
We'll
float.
call it a
No,
float.
okay.
That's next year.
Some streamers on, call it a float.
We got to transition our way into that. But
All right.
One
yeah.
step at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so that's one thing that everybody can
That's
do.
one thing. And in the midst of our annual campaign, which is going on right now, we are getting ready for our big signature event happening in November, on November 10th. And we are going to be featuring the film That First Glide, directed by Mike Waltz. And we're calling it our Starlight Cinema.
A benefit for Maui United Way.
So what's the movie about?
Yeah.
You can watch the trailer on our website, in fact, but That First Glide is a movie about the evolution of stand-up paddling and stand-up paddle in Hawaii.
Oh, cool.
And it goes back to the historical roots of surfing in Fiji and Hawaii, and there is awesome footage of Laird Hamilton, Dave Kalama, they're paddling through Maliko, they're surfing Jaws. I mean, there's great footage of Maui. The really cool thing is Mike Waltz is a director that lives here, so he's kind of a local boy, and he has used a ton of footage from Maui, so you're going to recognize a lot of great locations. And if you like surfing or you enjoy water sports or just like anything extreme sport-wise, this will be a really entertaining movie for you, and it's good for the whole family.
Is this going to be the only time people can see it?
I think it's been shown once at the MAC, but you can definitely you have accessibility. It's not out in the stores yet, but you could get a DVD, I suppose, through the website. But we're not advertising that. We're
Right.
trying to get people to come out and
Come
support
to our
United Way.
event and see it.
And it's going to be held where?
Yeah.
It will be in Kihei at a private residence right on the beach, so it's a beautiful setting.
Oh, nice.
Perfect backdrop to this movie.
Yeah, so the backdrop behind the screen is basically Lanai and Koho'olawe and this beautiful sunset, and we're right on the ocean. It's just a beautiful private residence, and it's going to be a spectacular event.
That sounds awesome. And is there a donation that you're requesting for admittance?
Of course.
Of course there is, yes.
We wouldn't be a nonprofit event without it. No. You want to tell them about how the pricing works?
We have arranged three different
Level?
costs, three
Yeah.
different levels, thank you, of tickets. We have a VIP ticket cost of $75, which includes a lot of goodies. Then our general ticket is $40, and we have a children's ticket for $20. So it is a family event, and we would accommodate everybody in the family.
Yeah, and we want to emphasize the fact that not only is it an outdoor movie under the stars that should, be enjoyed by all, but we're going to have heavy poo-poos. We'll also have silent auction, an open bar donation, and we'll have your favorite movie snacks, all the goodies that you would want, popcorn and all those goodies available there too. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, and it's just going to be a really fun evening. The bottom line is when we embarked on trying to figure out what we were going to do for our event this year, we wanted to do something very different. And although, yes, we have outdoor movies around, this event's going to encompass a little bit of everything. So it's going to be a fun night where you can bring your whole family. It's not too expensive. For a small admission ticket, you're going to be making a huge impact in your community and giving back. And you'll be able to enjoy all the great things that we're going to have going on that night.
Well, starting at 5:30.
Yes.
Obviously, there's plenty of time to enjoy those heavy poo-poo and
Yeah.
And then
I think it gets dark right around 7.
7-ish.
Yeah, so the movie's going to start as soon as it gets dark, so we'll be pretty much in line. As soon as the sun goes down, the movie's going to get going. But before that happens, we'll have silent auction, poo-poos.
Good entertainment by
yeah.
Kanoa Kukawa.
We're going to have live entertainment. The whole theme around the event is going to be very much vintage aloha. So it's going to be a casual event. You can wear your casual aloha wear and just come out and have a really great time. And, how often can you bring your kids to these fundraisers? So this is a great opportunity to bring the kids. We have the kids' seating is actually the grassy areas on the flanks of the seating. So you can actually push them off to the side and enjoy yourself while you watch the movie. and know that they're just going to kick back and watch it with you.
So is this the type of thing where you'd bring your own blanket and beach chair?
No, we actually will have seating for general admission and for VIP. The kids' tickets, however, we're doing the grass mats on the side of the seating area, so they will be sitting on the grass, but we'll have mats available for them. So don't bring any seats. We'll have the seats taken care of for you.
That sounds really cool.
And you're
actually.
coming, right,
And
Max?
I'm coming, yes. VIP.
Cool. Yeah.
And ticket purchases will begin on our website starting
next week. We
next
should
week.
be live by next week, Monday. That's what we're hoping for. But you can also go to our website at mauiunitedway.org and check out the trailer for that first glide. I encourage anybody to check it out. Once you watch the trailer, you're going to know why this is a great movie to come out and see. And what better way to support your community than having to go watch a surf movie?
Hey, sounds like a winner to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay, so what else have you got on your list?
What else do we have? Lots of things going on. Every last Sunday of the month, we're at Maui Mall, part of their Family Sundays. They have lots of fun stuff going on, bingo, games, their Super Shopper stamp card, and we have a keiki craft table for all the kids that are there or want to come to Maui Mall and just stop by. We provide a fun craft, simple craft for them to do to take home with them.
What's the ages on that?
They all kind of vary, but they're pretty much open to any kind of age. It's just what you're capable of doing. The younger ones have their parents help them out. I mean, what are
Our
some
volunteers
examples
are there
of what
to
we've
help them out.
done?
We've done bird houses, wooden bird houses.
Built Legos.
Wow.
Some of the simpler things we've done is just a coloring page.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But all of these
Anything.
events focus on education. So every month the theme is different, but still around education.
And I see on your paper that's between 11 and 2 p.m.
11 and 2 p.m. That's right.
Every
Last Sunday
last
of the
Sunday.
month.
Okay.
So this one will be September 30th.
Very good.
Can't get any more last Sunday than that.
Yeah, that's true.
In September.
That's the end of September.
Very good.
The things, there's so many things that I like about Maui United Way, but that your fundraisers are so different and pretty creative. Like you have the fishing tournament at the beginning of September. You guys must have just finished that,
we
right?
that was
did
last
fishing
week.
tournament.
You want
It
to
was
tell them a little bit
beginning
about
of
the
this
fishing
month.
tournament?
Maui Electric hosts that and coordinates pretty much
we
everything.
love and adore.
We
Thank you,
love
Maui Electric.
So
And
how big was the largest tilapia?
I want to
We
say it
haven't
was
heard yet.
just over a foot. Yeah, they get pretty
Really?
big. They get scary big. I mean, who knows what goes on in that
What's in
pond?
there?
But, but there are some tilapia that are over a foot long, and I'm glad I haven't had the pleasure of seeing them because they're scary. But what's really cool about that tournament is every year it brings out 600 fishers.
600 kids.
The kid fishers,
Yeah.
and
Kid
is that even
fishers.
correct?
No.
Is that kid,
No,
kid
that's not a
fishermen?
fisher.
Kid
Fisher
Fisher
kids.
children.
Fisher kids? Are they Fisher kids?
Fisher
well,
keiki.
brings
We'll
out,
check that out.
Yeah.
We'll let people know.
Yeah, we got to figure out what the correct terminology is. But anyways, there's 600 kids that come out and participate in the tournament, and with the parents and the aunties and the uncles, we basically have
easily-
way over 1,000 people there. And this year was no different. Every year, Maui Electric steps up and does even a better job of coordinating everything, so it went really smooth. We had no injuries this year, which was very
No
nice.
injuries.
Hooray.
But one of the cool things is there are a lot of really big carp in that pond, and every once in a while a kid accidentally hooks a carp, and let me tell you can tell when somebody pulls one up because the whole side of the pond, wherever that happens, just gets really loud and because you're expecting to see this tiny little fish come out, and all of a sudden you see this huge white thing. And it's just it's a little freaky, but yeah, the one thing that I learned this year as far as the keiki tilapia fishing tournament, and if you have kids that fish in it, the best bait is worms. I have had my kids do it every year, and this is the first year we took the time to go dig up worms, and I tell you, they caught fish after fish after fish.
Just
They
straight
didn't
up
win.
earthworms.
Yeah, they didn't
Just
win,
worms, yeah.
but the tilapia love fish, I think, more than anything out there.
Do you throw them back in?
Yes. So basically, it's catch and release. You can't kill the fish.
Okay.
So the kids are required to put the fish in a bucket. They bring it to the weighing station. They weigh it, and then the weigh station takes all the fish and they dump it on the far end of the pond. So
Okay.
They have
wanna try-
certified experts to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you
To
know
put the
they're not
fish
just
back
catching
in.
the same fish over and over again?
Yeah, they try to dump it far away from where everybody's fishing. So But I tell you, even this last weekend, tilapias aren't the most intelligent fish. I think my son caught the same fish about 4 times.
Oh, really? It does kind of happen.
That was a hungry little fish.
Yeah, I like that flavor of those worms.
But I just want to give a big shout out to Maui Electric Company and their generous employees. Not only do they give to United Way at a very high level, usually around $60,000 a year, but all of the employees rally really well behind this event, and they all come together. They volunteer their time. Some of them are there at 4:30 in the morning.
Very early. in the
Yes,
morning.
and they donate their time to come out and support United Way and support Maui Electric, and also Ka'anapali Golf Course for letting us come and trample on their golf course and take advantage of their pond each year. Those are great sponsors, and we're really lucky to have them. So if you missed it this year, make sure you don't miss it next year because it sells out every year.
Very quickly, by the way.
So if some company has an idea for an event for you guys, are you open to suggestions?
Absolutely.
New ideas
Yes, we love ideas. That's where we generate quite a bit of our fundraising. Is we find companies out in the community that are interested in supporting us, and they'll think of some great fundraising idea like the tilapia fishing tournament, and lo and behold, we have one more great way to raise money for United Way.
Terrific. Well, we're getting close to time where we have to wrap it up. Anything we want to repeat to everybody? The Starlight Cinema, November 10th. To
Parade,
see.
September 27th.
There we
Yep.
go. That's coming up first. Everything's visual.
Yes.
I love that.
We try to keep things I like
Simple and
I
visual.
like that. Yeah.
So if you want to volunteer, you want to ask more questions, 244-8247.
244
Where'd you get that one?
8787.
8787.
Yeah.
Well, where did I
That's
get that
Maui
number?
United Way.
Yeah, 8787 244-8787, or you can check us out on the web.
MauiUnitedWay.org.
Very easy.
Hey, thank you all for joining us today on Maui Nonprofit Notes. We're sponsored by Pacific Source as a community service, The Builder's Choice. Maui Nonprofit Directors Association's mission is to provide personal and professional support to nonprofit executive directors, their organizations, and the community of Maui. Today, we visited with Diane and Max from Mediation Services Maui. Maui Mediation Services.
Mediation Services of
Of
Maui.
Maui, okay. And we talked with Kanoi and Locks of Maui United Way. See, look at that. I made it through a whole show without calling you Aloha United Way. Anyway, we encourage everyone to get involved by giving, advocating, or volunteering for your favorite nonprofit. Do it today. What are you waiting for? Please visit our website at www.mauinonprofit.org for a list of member agencies. Mahalo for tuning in, and don't forget to join us again next week at noon, right here on KAOI Radio 1110 AM, 96.7 FM, when we'll be featuring representatives of 2 more member agencies of Maui Nonprofit Directors Association. And any parting comments?
Thank you for having us, and we hope you'll all come out for our Starlight Cinema on November 10th, and don't forget to call us about walking in the parade.
There you go. Max, anything from Mediation Services?
Just if you are interested in our training, give us a call again, 244-5744. You will not regret it.
Very good. And again, I'm Susie Tiemann, host of the show, and whatever else. Locks,
I'm Max and Kanoi.
Kanoi, and Diane, and Gary on the controls.
Woohoo!
Music maestro.